Imagine you are on a train speeding toward 5 people tied to the track. You have the power to pull a lever and divert the train onto a side track, but there is one person tied there instead. Most people choose to pull the lever to save the 5. Now change the scenario slightly. You are standing on a bridge above the tracks, and next to you is a noticeably large man. To save the 5 people below, you have to physically push him over the edge so his body stops the train. These MRI scans show a distinct difference in human brain activity. When an average person thinks about pushing that man, the emotional center lights up with distress. In a psychopath's brain, that emotion neighborhood has a neural curfew. It stays entirely dark. They are perfectly happy to drop someone over the side without a second thought. The true danger of a psychopath is this complete biological absence of emotional friction when causing harm. Pop culture and history books have trained us to look for obvious monsters. We expect mass murderers, calculated criminals, and people who broadcast their dangerous intentions. The reality is much quieter. The vast majority of people with psychopathic traits are nonviolent, everyday citizens. They hold down regular jobs and might sit right next to you at work. They play in your local softball league and chat with you in the grocery aisles. They are deeply embedded in society because they have learned to perfectly mimic human behavior. Unless you know the specific psychological tells, they are almost impossible to spot. From birth, their brain is wired differently. If you say something that carries a deep, abstract emotional meaning, it will usually fly right over their head. Because they lack emotional investment in others, they possess an abnormally high tolerance for disgust. Gruesome sights and heartbreaking situations that make an average person physically sick often do not affect them at all. This animated map models facial attention deficit. When someone is vulnerable, a psychopath actively bypasses their eyes, locking focus onto the mouth. They extract mechanical data from the mouth to imitate sympathy, avoiding the emotional bond of eye contact. Studies show they are entirely incapable of telling when someone is experiencing genuine emotional distress, and even if they could tell the difference, their biology dictates that they simply do not care. They do not experience human interaction as a shared emotional journey. To them, conversation is just a continuous stream of raw, exploitable data. Because a psychopath lacks the internal hardware to process empathy, they assume the rest of the world operates on the same empty frequency. This leads to an intense egotism. They view altruism as a performance, convinced that everyone is actually motivated by selfishness, and that anyone who claims otherwise is simply lying to get ahead. In social or dating scenarios, excessive flattery and immediate, deeply personal questions serve as tactical probes. They are mapping out your vulnerabilities to establish a position of power. Once they find a vulnerability, they adopt a parasitic lifestyle. They latch onto you, draining your money, property, and energy without a shred of guilt. Even their most intimate relationships are purely transactional. They will engage in intense encounters to establish power, secure a housing situation, or simply cure their chronic boredom. Every relationship is a calculated chess game. Equality does not exist in their worldview. You are simply a resource to be consumed until you are no longer useful. Eventually, the calculated facade cracks. One small insult to their fragile ego can trigger a sudden fit of explosive temper and behavioral chaos. Because they view societal rules as restrictions meant only for people too ignorant to break them, they never take responsibility for the fallout. They will gaslight you, insisting the conflict is your fault. If they go behind your back, they blame you for being foolish enough to trust them. Reasoning with them is impossible. Their internal logic always positions them as the perpetual victim of everyone else's incompetence. If an interaction leaves you feeling unsettled, trust your gut. Pay attention if their words sound correct, but feel like a rehearsed, hollow performance. Escaping this kind of dynamic leaves legitimate psychological wounds. It takes years of active boundary setting to heal from the trauma of being manipulated by someone entirely devoid of empathy. Recognizing these biological tells is the first step toward building psychological immunity. To see how these internal mechanics drive other complex human behaviors, subscribe to Neuroscience Lab.